Okay. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Amanda.
Nice to see you.
You as well.
Hi to everyone who's watching. My name is Amanda Beattie, and I work in the education department at the PHI Foundation for Contemporary Art. And my colleagues in education and I have invited artist Rachel Echenberg to create a project in conjunction with Dora Garcia's performance piece. It's called Two Planets Have Been Colliding for Thousands of Years. And it's currently on show at the PHI Foundation. And I'm thrilled to be here with you, Rachel, this morning to talk about this collaborative project that we're working on.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me into this collaboration with you and the education team. It's been a lovely experience coming up with this kind of unusual kind of workshop that we're working on.
Yeah, definitely unusual, but wonderful. So perhaps, Rachel, do you want to start by just talking about your work in general, maybe some themes that you've been exploring recently as well?
Sure. I'm a visual artist, and I have been working primarily in performance, but as well in video and photo for close to 30 years now. I would say the more recent work, maybe the last 10 years, I've been exploring themes of home and of family, and really using the actual participation of my own family in this work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nice. It's when the curator of this exhibition, Victoria Carrasco, approached my colleagues in education and I to talk about this, what our programming for this exhibition. She mentioned that she was interested in exploring the connection between performance and families, and so we immediately thought of you and of your work. And we're just so happy that you were able to do this project. We know you're super busy with a lot of other projects right now, so it's been really great working with you. So as part of our collaboration, one of the things that we're going to be doing is showing one of your video works, how to explain performance art to my teenage daughter, on our website for the duration of the exhibition. And I wonder if you want to just say a few words about that work.
Yeah, sure. Originally the work was a live performance that I did with my youngest daughter Clara in 2015. And when I finished that performance, I realized I wanted to continue expanding on the work. And so together with Clara, a few years later, we came up with this, we made this video together. The work quotes the very well-known 1965 performance of Joseph Beuys called How to Explain Pictures to a Dead Hare. And in my work, I'm sort of taking up the iconic Beuys imagery of honey and gold leaf. But I'm also trying to take his idea of this lesson that's implied in the title, but the lesson being more towards knowledge as a sensory experience. So that it's not really geared towards, understanding in the passive sense, but more as a kind of a recognizing as an active experience. And I would quote Valerie Lucelli, who writes that, recognizing as recognizing or kind of knowing again. So this echo of knowledge. So I think like the idea of understanding work, any work, whether it's performance or something else, has to do with this kind of openness towards, the experience of knowledge. Yeah. And so when I asked my teenage daughter to kind of pour honey on each other and stick gold leaf to that, I'm inviting her into this very intimate and very strange experience, but hopefully one that is recognizable and that we can learn together. Mm-hmm. And of course, then the audience of the video is witnessing the mother-daughter experience, and then simultaneously being cut off with these kind of didactic explain Joseph Beuys' performance. And hoping is that shifts their understanding into kind of different ways of knowing. And that's sort of what the work for me, the background of the work. And, I would definitely invite people. It's available on the PHI Foundation website until August 1st. So I hope people will see it. It's only 6 minutes long. So it's not a film. It's definitely a shorter video.
Yeah. I find it such a touching piece too. You really feel the connection, the love and the care between you and your daughter. It's so palpable. So yes, I definitely recommend that everybody watch that video, also to get a better sense of your work and where you're coming from. Thanks for sharing that. So I'm just going to take a second to share my screen because we've got some images to talk about the next project. Okay, so you've proposed this art activity for the public called Pile, Touch, Yell, Cocoon Performance Suggestions. And it's basically in the form of these instruction cards where you're proposing these actions for biological or chosen families to perform. Do you want to say a few words about the project in general, maybe before we dive in and talk about each action?
Sure. So the when you asked me to come up with this kind of like an idea of a workshop at a distance because of the pandemic, we came up with this idea to pull gestures out of past performance works. So I've chosen four different gestures, different actions that can be easily done or can be done. I don't know if it's easy, but can be done. They don't take any extra accessories or anything. It just takes your presence. And I have put in there's an image from of the performance, as well as a short suggestion of how one could experience this work. And I kept in mind that they were for intimate groups. So either family in whatever sense people want to take it, but chosen, biological, or and also some of the performances can even be done alone. But I would say, like, in all cases, they take a little bit to kind of try that out. It takes a little focus. They're not difficult to do, but I'll explain it as I go along.
Perfect. So I'll
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that I'll go through the images and I'll just follow your pace. So we'll be able to see what the actions and then the photographs that go along.
Excellent.
Okay. So the first one is pile.
So all of the titles are verbs. So that's sort of like leading to this idea of the active audience. And this image is it's an iconic action in my family because we've done it in different situations. But this image is the first time that we did it in a performance in 2016 called Home is Where. And I would say this idea of piling has a lot of different connotations. At one time, it's very intimate and can even be very calming. And then, of course, the other extreme is the weightiness of it, the heaviness of it. So when you're piling, you physically feel both of those extremes in that the group is trying to kind of spread their weight and breathe as one, but the people on the bottom are being compressed and actually it can become even maybe difficult. So I would say that people who might choose to do this suggestion need to keep focused on those extremes and prepared for that compression that can happen in it.
Yeah. I'm curious to try it out myself because you get that feeling of there's a connection between the bodies, that closeness, that the fact that you're touching, that you're so on top of each other. There's something that's very comforting about that, about seeing this image. But then there's that fine line between that comfort and then the carrying that weight and the burden of that weight. That can be kind of difficult and even anxiety provoking. So it's such an interesting piece that the ideas behind it are just really, really fascinating. So,
well, you'll let me know how it goes.
Okay, next one is touch.
So touch, the image for that is from a video that I made with my mother. last summer. And of course, this was during the 2020, during the pandemic. The piece is from a series of videos called Conversations with My Family. And this one is called Conversation with My Mother and Her Mother and Her Mother and Her Mother and Her Mother. So, etc. The video was made at a time when we couldn't touch each other. So we each made this video of touching our face, feeling our skeleton, our flesh, our features, and trying to recognize, again, there's that word, our own kind of each other within ourselves, as well as our ancestry. And when I'm suggesting this performance, I'm suggesting that it can be done together with other people, but it can be done in presence or at a distance, and it can be even done alone, because they're with you in kind of as you're in the thinking that's going behind it, in the action, and it's what it's asking you to do.
Yeah, nice. It's a work that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people, just especially after what we're coming out of, hopefully coming out of this kind of year and a half of not being able to be with our loved ones, not being able to be to touch them, to be connected to them. So this idea of touch and of thinking about our ancestors and our families and the people that we love and that we want to be with.
Yeah, how we can hold others.
Yeah, that's it. Right.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is yell.
Yell. So this is exactly as it sounds. So the idea is to yell together, which might sound actually easier than it is, because it can definitely be awkward, or can create a kind of giggles, or even just the difficulty of allowing oneself to really yell. So that's a kind of interesting, because it is very simple to yell. The most important thing about this action is that the group is not facing each other. So the idea is that they are yelling together, but they're not yelling at each other. So in this picture, it's a live performance. We're facing the audience, but we're not facing each other. In other situations, could be facing outwards anywhere. So what's also interesting is that that people can come in and out. Obviously, it takes a lot of energy, so the volume can kind of fluctuate as this action.
Yeah.
So, like, even if it's even though like yelling is an aggressive release of energy, part of this action is to also listen to each other and to kind of accept whatever energy each person is to that action or that moment.
Yeah, it's interesting. I find, you said it's a simple action, it's a simple thing to do, but then when you think about it, it's like, well, okay, where are we going to do this? There's that self-consciousness too. Are we going to do this in our home? Are we going to do this outside in a park? What are people going to think who are around? And yeah, the times that we allow ourselves to yell, okay, either when we're really angry or really happy, but it's so rare that you're with, even one or two other people and you're just yelling, you're letting all that energy out. So it's simple, but also a little complicated when you think about the details of it.
It is. I mean, I think that a lot of these actions, I'm hoping that they seem simple, and yet, yeah, the doing of them might bring up some other things. And obviously I made them not with the idea that other people would perform them. Right. So I'm suggesting them as possibilities or insights into experiencing work in a different way. But yeah, I don't, definitely they're not simply just made, easy. They're just to kind of see what that feels like. And it should be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, the last one is cocoon.
Last one, cocoon. All right. So the image that you're going to see is the oldest one from this series of images. So this is a family portrait from 2014. And I've used this gesture of cocooning in one's own clothes in other performances since that time. But I like this image because it really shows the idea of the sense of being alone and being together, which I think is the kind of challenge in all relationships, how to have one's own space with each other. I would definitely recommend stretchy clothing to do this action. Not, it's a, you know, really get that. It does stretch your clothes out. I would also say it's more interesting probably to do it in the presence of others. So people doing that together, but it's also something that can be done alone. And I think, you know, that experience of space can always be interesting or together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for those descriptions. I'm just going to stop the share. I think it's going to be really helpful for people who are, you know, embarking on trying out these actions at home to have heard you talk about it and to know the background of you know, the fact that these are performances, that these were based on performances, and that yeah, there are all these ideas to think about when doing them. And Rachel, just thanks for taking the time to chat today, for sharing your video work also on our website. I think that's really wonderful as well, and for all of these performance suggestions. It's really opening up a lot of very interesting experiences for everyone who's going to be trying them, for our visitors, for people who are viewing this conversation today. Well, thanks a lot for all of that.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, pleasure. I just have a few more thank yous to say to the PHI Foundation team, Marie-Hélène Lemaire and Pohanna Pine-Feinberg, my colleagues in education, to Victoria Carrasco, the curator of this exhibition, Danielle Fisset, Dahlia Cheng, Cheryl Sim, of course, Phoebe Greenberg, and also to Denis from Videographe, who enabled the showing of the video. Thanks to everyone who's watching and who's going to participate in these performance suggestions, either in thought or action, or hopefully both. And Rachel, again, it's just been such a pleasure doing this with you. Thanks for your boundless creativity. It's really inspiring.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, I hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.